Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to another edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show, and I am Mr. Warren Hayes, and this is my show that I decided to name after me because it's really much easier for me to remember it. So very glad that you could join us tonight for this edition of the show here on August 2019, if you prefer. And I'm thanking first and foremost everyone who's here tonight because yes, in case you haven't figured it out by now, in case I don't say it enough, I do this show live every Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. I do this as part of the Thursday night block of wrestling talk programming known as #Smark2Hayes, which I do alongside my good buddy Anthony Suter from the Smark to Death podcast. Anthony starts at 8 Eastern. I follow up at 9. What more do you want regarding your Thursdays if it isn't just to sit around and listen to a couple of white dudes talk about wrestling? Yeah. Oh, but seriously, I am thrilled that there's a fantastic amount of people here in the chat room this evening. A great bunch of friends of the show. Tim is here in the chat. Mr. Fretz. We have CM Phil who joins us this evening. We have John Baez in the house. Robert Larry. We have Robert Larry. And we have Blaine Mendoza, the world's most handsome mod. Ross Vape is here as well. Just popped in. It's fantastic. Lots of friends of the show here. And you know, I've said it once and I'll say it again. If you've never had the opportunity to join the Mr. Warren Hayes Show live, you should, because the chat room is absolutely fantastic. Some great people who hang out there. A great place to have some sensible wrestling discussion without feeling like you're worthless. Not that you should feel worthless regardless. But there you go. So and thank you if you are listening to this on your own time. And regardless, you know what always helps, what would be really appreciated, it always helps the show, is if you give it a like here on YouTube, or if you give it a like or a heart or a follow or whatever on your favorite podcast application, because the Mr. Warren Hayes Show is available on all podcast formats, whether it be Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Podbean. It's there. It's just there, and it's waiting for you to listen to it. So go right ahead and do it. And leave us a review, leave us a like, leave us a comment, anything that you can do. That kind of stuff is super easy, and it helps out the show a great deal. But you can also help out the show by purchasing the official I'm Not Dead Mr. Warren Hayes t-shirt, because of course, you know, I have to continuously squash the rumors about my demise, and what better way to do it than to print out a t-shirt. So you can get that over at whatforapparel.com/I'm Not Dead with no punctuation. The link is in all the descriptions of all whatever you're listening to right now. So the link is right there. Or you can also, if you feel like it, leave a little tip over on over at tinyurl.com/tipwarren. And anything there helps out quite a bit. Also, another thing that you can help out is head on over to belltobells.com for all your women's wrestling coverage. It is managed by none other than Editor-in-Chief Kristen Ashley, passionate wrestling writer focused on female women's wrestling. And it's fantastic. It's a wonderful site with a bunch of great people such as CM Phil, who hangs out here in the chat and also is a great contributor over there as well. Go check it out. That's BELLTOBELLES.com. Or you can follow us on Twitter as well at Bell2Bells. So that's great stuff. Saturday, folks, if you're up to it, I am going to be doing a live watch along of NXT TakeOver Toronto 2. If you feel like it, I'll probably be starting a few minutes before 7, maybe 6:45, something like that. And let's keep it loose. Let's keep it informal. Just hanging out. And if you want to come over here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes, I will be popping on here I'll get some snacks. I'll get some drinks, and pop on the microphone to hear the headset. Thank you very much, Vase Rob Vape, for the very friendly tip. I appreciate it. So if you want to do that, just join us. Join me just before takeover starts. Should be a good time. We'll hang out throughout the evening, watch it together. Of course, we're not going to actually be seeing it. I'm not going to turn my camera and have it face the network, because that's, WWE is just going to strike me down with rage and fury, and fire and brimstone. That's what they're going to do if I do that. So we're not actually going to watch it, but we'll just hang out. You can hang out in the chat. We'll talk. It'll be fantastic. That'd be great. That would be absolutely great if you wanted to do that. Should be a good time. So let's start talking about. We're talking about the future. Talking about things that are going around, all around. But let's start by talking about tonight. Shayna Baszler, happy birthday. 39 years old today. One of the most dominant women's champions in NXT history. Happy birthday. What a fantastic wrestler who has a very, very strong place in my heart. I love her so much. So that's fantastic. And by the way, happy birthday in advance to Robert Larry, friend of the show, hangs out in the chat very regularly, a very active member of the WarrenHayes chat section. So everybody type in HBD in the chat. Wish Robert a happy birthday. That's fantastic. Happy birthday to you, sir. Which is actually tomorrow, but we're all giving your HBDs in advance today. All right, as per usual, we're going to start by recapping main roster WWE this week. Oh, the things I do for love. Oh, my goodness gracious. Jason PS3 and Hawkeye, how you guys doing? Thank you for joining the chat. All right, let's just go to it. Raw started off. I just want to refresh everyone's memory. I really liked Raw last week. I thought Raw had some great pacing, incredible surprises, and was a lot of fun. This was a go-home show, wasn't it? I mean, that's the thing, is that it's a go-home show for pay-per-view, and WWE has this tendency, right, of just having some very lame ass, go-home shows, and that's a shame. But hey, we'll get it done. We'll get through this. The show starts off with Samoa Joe. How can you not like that? Well, when Joe comes out and he says that he wants to hold Raw hostage until he gets an apology from Roman Reigns, who accused him of attacking him backstage at SmackDown. Remember last week when those road crates fell on top of Roman, and there were like 6 different camera angles that we switched to within 3 seconds. That was absurd and nauseating, vomit-inducing. That's something that your brain is not supposed to process in such fast order. So Joe was out there, and he actually made a reference to that, to the fact that there were many cameras, saying that there were more cameras there than a dystopian state. And by God, if that doesn't make me love Samoa Joe, that doesn't make me love Samoa Joe more than I do, well, I did. There you go. Well, Daniel Price in the chat, how you doing? So basically he cuts his promo, but Becky interrupts him, and she comes out so that she can have her match, a very odd match. Becky and Charlotte teaming up versus Natalya and Trish. I guess Natalya and Trish are together because they're opposing Becky and Charlotte at the pay-per-view, but Becky and Charlotte are like sworn enemies, and just very, very strange. Hello, Hothead567. Welcome to the chat. Okay, so I didn't get it at first when this started, because nothing in the setup of this match, nothing made sense to me. But I ended up digging the stories that were being told. You know, there was back and forth between Natalya and Lynch, of course, but then Charlotte would tagged herself in and stayed in the match in control, getting arrogant towards Becky. And it's like, hey, I'll handle this because I'm the queen, kind of thing. And Natalya, in the meantime, takes a hell of a beating, but keeps on ticking. You know, she just can't be put down. Becky eventually tags herself back in, but Charlotte then blindsides her and just walks away. She just books it. Well, doesn't book it, but she leaves. She goes away. And that allows Natalya the possibility to strap on the sharpshooter onto Becky. And she doesn't let go. She doesn't let go of the sharpshooter, so the ref calls for the bell. And then she has to end it. So this ending made sense to me because aside from Trish, Becky had beef with everyone in the ring. So to me, this made sense, and it showed ruthlessness for Natalya. It showed that that Trish is a good sport because she had to come break Natalya off of the hold. That was a nice touch. Trish didn't do anything in the match. I think we all agree. You know that's it's odd. You know that she didn't she got more action on SmackDown the next night when she slapped Charlotte. That's one move more than she did on Monday night. But it showed some ruthlessness, and I dug it. I liked how they were telling the stories, and it just set some seeds for the future. Reminded us that Charlotte and Becky, they still hate the hell out of each other. They just hate each other's guts. Which on one hand, I like. On the other hand, this is the hand right here. This is the hand that would like to have a 4 horsewomen versus 4 horsewomen feud, right? This is the hand here. But as long as we have this hand, or at least as long as Charlotte and Becky are at odds, it's just not going to happen because their feud is much too much of a blood feud right now. CM Phil says Trish put on her gear to stand on the apron for the whole match. Well, you know, otherwise what? She puts on a dress. Natalya she put on some new gear, which I really, really liked, but then she was back to her old gear on SmackDown, which I didn't care much of. Vape Ross Vape says Charlotte is still getting better using more of her dad's stuff. You know, since Charlotte decided to go more into a ground-based type of offense, she has become much, much better instead of trying to do the flippy stuff like a lot of the other women does. She's taller than everyone. She is stronger than a lot of them. She's using her true natural strengths instead of focusing on doing things that are a little too technical or high-flying. Daniel Price says Rousey's going to come out in Toronto if they're pushing Becky this hard as the heel and Natalya as the face. Speaking of Rousey, didn't Becky and Charlotte hate each other 4 months ago? Well, they still do. But everyone is saying, oh, Rousey's coming out. Well, listen, I don't find that they're... I'm trying to say too many things at once. This is what Warren Hayes does. He just tries to say too many things at once. But thank you for the comment, for the chat, Daniel. I don't think Ronda's coming out at SummerSlam. Wasn't she supposed to go out and get pregnant? Like she should be pregnant right now, unless it's just not working out, which is also a possibility. But I don't know. If anything, Sasha Banks is going to be returning, in my opinion, not Ronda Rousey. But as far as the heel babyface thing, I didn't feel... Look, WWE are doing their best to push Natalya as being from Canada, you know? But this is very simple, folks. This is basic logic here. If you've been watching wrestling for at least the past 10 to 12 years, Toronto is going to heel for whoever Toronto wants to heel for. They won't give a shit if you're thinking, this is my baby face and this is my heel. If Toronto wants to boo someone, they are going to boo that person. And they are not going to boo Natalya. That is my official prediction as a warm-blooded, maple syrup-loving, beaver-caressing Canadian. That last part was a little weird. Please don't anyone clip that and send it to my girlfriend. No, I really believe that that Toronto is going to cheer for Becky Lynch and they are going to shit all over Natalya, regardless of her Canadian ship. Oh, thank you everyone for laughing at me in the chat now. All right. So there we go. So next we had Rey Mysterio Jr. versus Andrade Cien Almas in a fantastic match that Rey lost, but this was an awesome match. We had a sunset flip bomb. We had a crucifix driver from Rey Mysterio with a fucking Canadian destroyer. This was aces, right up there with their best work together. I just wish that they would have matches that had stakes now to it. One of them holding a title, one of them in a situation that the other one that the other one wants to create for the other one. There has to be stakes. And, I love Rey Mysterio Jr. I recently did a retro review for Fightful Select, which y'all should go check out. Regardless, because I do also my 205 Live NXT UK recap show every Wednesday there on Fightful Select, so subscribe today. But I also do retro reviews. We did Armageddon 2008, and I can swear to you guys, and even if you want to go watch it on your own on the network, Rey Mysterio, 11 years later, is in much, much better conditioning and is doing so many more fantastic things than he did in 2008. 2008, Rey Mysterio Jr. is a shadow of the Rey Mysterio we have today. And man, he is getting up there. This was a fantastic match, and this was the saving grace of WWE main roster this week. Then we had the 24/7 stuff, which I thought was pretty cool. I thought it was a really good way to to get the belt off of Maria, with the referee, with the referee being counting as Mike Kanellis is leaning in for a hug. I thought that was pretty clever. I thought that was really, really funny. So good stuff. But of course, then R-Truth wins it back. I'm not going to go off on, the discrepancy between Mike Kanellis's Raw character and Mike Kanellis's character on 205 Live. They're two completely different things and two completely different intentions. And it's really a question of the left hand not doing what the right hand is doing. But R-Truth is clearly the pillar of the 24/7 division, if you want to call it that. I was kind of happy that they started mixing it up, and I'm like, okay, well, we'll see what happens with Mike and Maria as we go along. Because I love R-Truth, but it can't always be centered around him. Maybe this is they're just wrapping up a little story arc, going back to Truth. But let's keep it fresh. The idea, I think, the 24/7 title will continue to be successful and entertaining if they keep it fresh. Tim Traver in the chat says, I would love to see Andrade versus Buddy Murphy. Jesus, Tim! You're trying to get me sweaty and hot and bothered? Because it's working. Speaking of sweaty and hot and getting sweaty and hot and bothered, Kristen Ashley just joined the chat. Then we had Becky and Natalya trading promos here. Becky was absolutely savage. She says Natalya basically is telling the way Natalya is acting. It's as if she was. It's as if it's a bad thing to be on top of the division. And Becky says she can bring all the hearts she wants. The Bret Hart. All the Hart family, but she can keep disappointing Canada like she has been disappointing everyone her entire career. And she just laid into her. While I was changing, Becky saying, while I was changing the way things are done, here she was on reality TV changing her bikini. Ah! When I had a broken jaw with blood dripping down my face, she was perfecting her duck face on Instagram. And then she says, I'm going to give Canada a new hero, Becky Lynch. And this was fantastic prime the man material here. They apparently just let her go because Becky's promos had been, especially with the whole association, the whole thing when she and Seth Rollins were teaming up. It was a little soft. Now she really give it the oomph. Then Natalya cut her promo, and man, it was a little more how do we say, old school. She said, I'm gonna beat you at SummerSlam for the title, Becky. Now, when I lock in my sharpshooter, you're gonna tap. Then we have the Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar segment where they recap last week's beating, and Seth comes out and he's still injured from that beating, so he gets beat up again. Seth is a stupid babyface. He's just a stupid babyface. He's a stupid babyface, is what he is. You know what kind of babyface he is, folks? He's a stupid one. He's just stupid. Why would he do that? Why would you do that a week before going to fight for the Universal title? The Universal title that you want so much that you were actually in the ring and saying, this is all I have, this is all I want. Well, you were breathing really hard, going, this is all I have. That was essentially the promo. Why would you do that? There's no one in the right mind that would do that. It was stupid. He's a stupid babyface and he deserves to lose at SummerSlam. Predictions later. Kurt Angle is backstage. He's going to be the special guest referee for Drew McIntyre versus Cedric Alexander a little later on in the evening. The Street Profits are there. They want to do milk shots with Kurt. And I think it's funny when Kurt's saying, my wife said I shouldn't do anything stupid. Jesus, Kurt, what does milk do to you? Is it because you're lactose intolerant? I don't know. But yeah, look, the Street Profits on Raw are super annoying, and we saw them on NXT this week, and Street Profits on NXT are spectacular and so on point. Anyway, Drew arrives and reminds Angle of what happened the last time they were in the ring when he just beat him up and humiliated him and beat him with the ankle lock. Continuity! I like it. Then we see a nice tribute package to Harley Race as well. We had then we get the Cedric Alexander versus Drew match with Kurt Angle as a special guest referee, but he gets mowed down by Drew. He being Cedric Alexander. They brawl on the outside for a bit. Cedric does a really nice head scissors takedown off the barricade onto the floor. The lights go out, and Bray appears, and he has the mandible claw again, and he's using it on Kurt. Guys, I want you to tell me in the chat right now. Are you pro mandible claw or are you pro Sister Abigail? What do you like? What do you like the most? Vincent Elisar, welcome to the chat. That's fantastic. I'm going to tell you guys, the claw with the lighting, the flashing and the light effects, the mandible claw has never looked so fucking spooky. It's amazing. Every time he hits the mandible claw, they have to do the lighting. No, that'd be too much. It'd be overproduced and it'd be just stupid. So yeah, this is fantastic. So there we go. Next we have the New Day versus the OC, and this is barely a match at all. They all gang up on Woods and Big E, and then out comes Ricochet. And this leads us into a 6-man tag team match, which the heels win. Fun little match. We do need to underscore very, very clearly the return of Dog Gallows officially, right? with the makeup. Luke Gallows pulling back some old New Japan shit, dusting that stuff off. Hey, I was great with that. I'm fantastic with that. Looks good. Now, a lot of people like the claw, pro mandible claw. When we were asking the question earlier about which finisher do we prefer on Bray, the mandible claw works. It works well. So then we have the Joe takes Raw hostage while waiting for Roman to show up because he heard that Roman was on his way. He holds the show hostage a little bit. He goes back out into the parking lot. And then eventually he gets out there and Roman steps out of the car. Roman just like pops out and he gets fucking rammed. He gets T-boned by another car. I'm like, Jesus, he does his own stunts. He just dove right back into the car. Someone is trying to kill Roman Reigns on Raw. And what was fantastic is then, Joe's bone of contention here. His problem that he had, it was that Roman Reigns accused him of being the guy who dropped the crates on him, but he was like, no, it's not me. You're a liar. I demand an apology. This was the basic issue here. And Joe was at the car after checking on Roman, says, no, man, don't move, stay there. Help us out, get a medic. Don't move, man, stay there. And I was like, this is well done. And then on SmackDown, Roman apologizes. I like it. I'm going to tell you guys, and I know WWE has a terrible, terrible, terrible track record when it comes to these kinds of storylines, but I am a sucker for a whodunit. I really, really am a sucker for a good whodunit. So the investigation continues. Next, we had the Iconics being defeated, or at least they're going to lose their title. WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, the Iconics, versus the Kabuki Warriors, versus Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross, versus Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. They gave this match quite a good amount of time to breathe. It was an elimination match, and the first team to be eliminated were the Iconics. The Iconics, all right, now, Chad, I'm pretty sure that a lot of you have some opinions about the Iconics and the women's tag titles. So drop them in the chat. Let's talk about this. The Iconics here in this match pulled out more offense than in all their previous title defenses combined. And I'm not saying that as a knock on them. I'm saying that as a knock on the booking. It has nothing to do with the Iconics, but they did so much stuff in the ring. And they were the first to be eliminated, got taken out. They did a deadlift double team suplex and then a double team flapjacks. They did a lot of 2-on-1 offense, but it wasn't enough. It was a V trigger by Mandy Rose that took him out. Then Asuka has Mandy tap out to the Asuka lock, and there's a fun final exchange between Alexa and Nikki Cross and the Kabuki Warriors. Kairi Sane gets some explosive offense in, and I'm so happy to have seen Kairi Sane wrestle again. It felt like years. But anyway, Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss are able to neutralize the Kabuki Warriors, and Bliss hits Twisted Bliss on Sane and gets the win. I mean, that's a thing that happened. Look, if you're going to take the titles off of the Iconics, might as well put them on an act which is over. Alexa and Nikki that have been doing great work, surprisingly great work, and the friendship is apparently real. Apparently, it's not going to be a blow off. Alexa Bliss is screwing you over kind of thing. She's playing a long game with Nikki Cross apparently at this point. But it was rumor. It was put out this week. There were some rumors, right, that Vince McMahon, when he released the when when he created the tag titles, women's tag titles, he didn't have a plan for them. Shocker. What? And they haven't been building a proper women's division. They haven't been building a proper women's division, period, right? I mean, there's barely enough people to create legitimate contenders for the champions. So how are they going to maintain a women's division here? I mean, Asuka, technically, you can pull the trigger on Asuka anytime and put her in a main event program with anyone. You can. Kairi can fly on her own. That would absolutely not be a problem. I'd like to see Becky Lynch and Asuka again. I mean, Asuka has one up on Becky, right? She beat the man at Royal Rumble this year. So there's some unfinished business there. It's a question of where you want to put your priorities in a certain way, because having the tag titles is fantastic, but then you are naturally co-opting pairs of women for the division, while also not having enough women, in the meantime, not having enough women as credible stars to be put in title pictures. So what do you do exactly? Because if you look, outside of giving the women more matches on a weekly basis, I really think that they're starting to be in a position where they're actually starting to put themselves in a position where they're shooting themselves in the foot. They have the singles titles, they have the tag titles, they just don't have enough women, or they don't give the women enough time to grow. You know, I saw a lot of people saying, oh, people were dead for the match. They didn't care for it. Or, they don't care about Natalya when she did. If you never put wrestlers on television and you never let them wrestle, you never let them create some hype or a following for themselves, they're never going to get over. People are never going to get excited to see them. Let me see what you guys think here. Benoit Parizet, welcome to the chat, sir. Let's see here. I'm going to talk about... John Baez says, what was the point of bringing up Kairi Sane? That is absolutely true. Hothead says that he would have liked Mandy and Sonya to win. Gotta tell you, I would have been on board with that. Hawkeye says, Alexa and Nikki has been one of my favorite stories all year, which I also have a tendency to agree with. And Benoit says talking about Kairi, she needs to bring back the Kana side of her right back. Kana, no, wait, that's Asuka, sorry. Yeah. And CM Phil says, this bothered me because they built up Asuka and Kairi for 4 months just to give the titles to someone else. So what exactly was the point? There is no point. And they did make a big deal out of it, didn't they? Pair them up with Paige. And if anything, it makes Paige look stupid. Not a very good business manager. It's weird. And there's nothing more exciting to end your 3 hours of exciting wrestling programming action than a goddamn contract signing. If you're a friend of the show, you know what your boy Warren thinks about contract signings. He hates them. Basically, everyone thought that we were going to get a contract signing for The Miz versus Dolph and WrestleMania. But no, it's Dolph versus Goldberg. What a swerve. Look, I'm okay. I'm okay with Goldberg having a match at SummerSlam. I don't mind. I really, really don't. And I don't care that it's against Dolph. I really, really don't. It's an attraction. People are going to pop. People are going to go, woo, Goldberg. And as long as the match is basically spear, jackhammer, pin, it's going to be fine. Goldberg has to be booked like his final run in WWE was booked. If they try to have him wrestle, it's just going to be the shits. So that was your edition of Raw. SmackDown Live, you know what? I'm going to breeze through this because I really feel like talking about other stuff at this stage. And especially because SmackDown was nothing. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, that's right. Hawkeye in the chat points out Matt Riddle will be on the SummerSlam watch along this Sunday. And that's going to be amazing. That's something we should all tune into when the Goldberg match hits, because I'm sure you've all heard or seen, how Matt Riddle's been calling out Goldberg and Chris Jericho and Lance Storm. He's been calling out a whole Booker T. And his distaste of Goldberg is legendary. This is nothing new. But now they're putting him on live TV, on social media. I want to see what he has to say when Goldberg pops on. It's going to be something. SmackDown was nothing. It was bad, just like CM Phil in the chat said. Blech. Both Fightful and Pro Wrestling Sheet were reporting before SmackDown started that Vince McMahon basically tore up the script with 2 hours left before the show and rewrote the whole thing. Gee willikers. We have a promo in the ring between Charlotte and Trish that basically leads to nothing outside of Trish. There was some fun stuff that was said here where Trish was talking about the fact, that you, Charlotte, you're the embodiment of everything that I worked for, that I fought for, which is nice, which is true at the same time. And basically she says, I just want to see if I could do it. I just want to see if I can cut it. And that's legit. These are very, very perfectly legitimate reasons. And it makes sense to me. I can get attached to what Trish is doing. I'm looking forward to this match. Will it be a 5-star classic? Hell nah. But I think there's enough of a compelling storyline here to be good. Now, Trish may have telegraphed the ending a bit to this because she did say that this will legitimately be her last match in WWE. She just wants to have one last singles match, and this is going to be it. She's been telling that in interviews. And if that's the case, well, that means she's probably going to lose. Because usually when you're retiring, you do the job. That's one of the rules of wrestling. Dolph comes out to Goldberg's music. He does the whole thing, and it's dumb, and I hate it. And he cuts a promo, and then he fights Rey Mysterio, and then he starts beating up on Rey Mysterio. But then Ali comes out, and he goes after Ziggler, and then there was nothing. It's just a whole lot of nothing aside from, I don't know why you toss Rey Mysterio into a nothing match with Dolph Ziggler, but even worse than that, toss one of your new stars, a new star that people like and is credible and could need a proper boost, just a slight push to get him over. I don't know why you'd feed him to Dolph, who we all know is going to lose at SummerSlam. Oh, but he has to look strong going in. Fuck off. He doesn't have to look strong against Goldberg. He's going to lose against Goldberg. That's how it works. Stupid. Roman then had his sit-down interview with Kayla Braxton and her freckles. He said that Roman turned down security. WWE offered him security because, they don't want anything to happen. But he turned it down because he's a man. Because he wants to do things on his own because he's a man, And I'm like, Jesus, man, there's someone under the employment of your company who wants to kill you. They're giving you security because that's the best possible solution that they can offer you right now. And you turn it down? Okay. And this is where he apologizes to Joe, by the way, which I thought was a pretty nice little touch. Then we have Natalya versus Ember Moon coming out. This is a situation where you kind of paint yourself into a corner, and I don't know why you do this. You have your two contenders. You have your two contenders to your two titles in this match here. One of them has to lose. The idea of having your challengers come out before a pay-per-view to have a match to make them look strong. Sure, Ember didn't tap on the outside, but we all remember that Bayley had to come bail her out. Haha. Baileyed out. Haha. But and then we remember Natalya putting on the sharpshooter and being a dick, not letting go. But like, no one looks strong here. It's stupid. It's just stupid. Kristen Ashley says she's cooking her first meal of the day. What are you cooking, Kristen? Let us know. Some of us are hungry and want to live vicariously through your meal. 3 cheese and macaroni and cheese. 3 cheese mac and cheese. Probably your boy Warren's recipe, includes condensed milk. That's the only way to go when you make mac and cheese. Seasoned with basil. Yum. Slight distraction here. Benoit says Natty tries way too hard to be a heel. She's such a natural baby face. I don't know anymore. I don't know what she excels at. Anymore. The Kevin Owens show then happens. He calls out Shane, interrupts the Best in the World entrance thing. He demands that Shane basically puts his career on the line as well. Shane says no. They talk. They come to blows, but Elias runs in to set him up. KO throws Shane over the commentary table. He stunners Elias onto the table, but Shane gets him back. Pins him against the barricades and the commentary table, tossing it over him, and he stays pinned there, and then he starts wailing on him until Kevin Owens loses consciousness. Weird. Sami Zayn comes out, and we are getting robbed of Sami Zayn versus Aleister Black at SummerSlam. We're getting it. This is one of the casualties of the rewrite that Vince McMahon went through. Aleister Black cuts a promo from inside a foggy coffin. God, that was awkward and weird, and they should never do that again. Aleister Black with a big close-up holding the microphone like this, and Sami Zayn, that was terrible. You should never do that again. Anyway, not much of a match here. You could tell that it was, the guys didn't have time to really put anything together. Maybe they had something better planned for SummerSlam. We'll never know now. You bastards. Shelton Benjamin is still weird. We have the Firefly Funhouse, a quick segment where Huskus the pig is stuffing the pig boy is stuffing his face with all sorts of sugary snacks. Bray says it's to cover up his insecurities. And Bray thinks that Finn does that to cover up, shows, we all do things to cover up our insecurities. For instance, Bray uses courage to cover up his ignorance or something. And anyway, he says, we've hurt for so long, it's time for Finn to hurt. I am looking forward to the debut of The Fiend. Elias calls Chad Gable short. He should be calling him Mr. God of Wrestling after the fantastic matches Chad Gable has had with Jack Gallagher on 205 Live over the past 2 months. You guys should definitely actively seek them out, because Gallagher versus Gable 2 is match of the year material. Then we have Daniel Bryan and Eric Rowan versus the New Day. Fun little match, as you could expect from these 4 guys. They work really, really well together. God damn, I don't know what you think, chat, but when Daniel Bryan bumps and he holds his head, I hate it so much when he does that. I don't know about you guys, but it just freaks me out. It freaks me out systematically every time. I'm like, oh, he hurt himself again. Ugh. Rowan hits a huge crossbody on Xavier Woods at some point. Big E cradles Bryan into a pin. And then he gets Brian up into a stretch muffler, which was fantastic. But then Brian reverses out of the stretch muffler into a label lock, but then Big E reverses out of that into a pinning situation. But Brian converts out of that into a triangle, and it ends with a deadlift power slam. Nice little sequence between both guys there. That was good stuff. Rowan hit a spin kick. Jesus Christ. We got the Big E YOLO dive onto the outside. Woods goes for a dive onto Roman onto the outside, but Rowan is there and just whams him with the stairs. Just as he's coming out to dive, just boom. And they destroy the New Day after. And then SmackDown ends with Roman Reigns intimidating Buddy Murphy into telling him who tried to kill him, who's been trying to kill him. And Buddy Murphy, under duress, mind you, says that all he saw was Eric Rowan. And Eric Rowan and Daniel Bryan, oddly enough, are still in the ring watching this, and they're stoic and unwavering. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. SummerSlam's coming up. This was not a good week for main roster programming on WWE, quite unfortunately. You know, I want WWE to succeed. I want it to do good. I want good things to happen. Let's see here. Benoit says if Finn returns and joins the OC, he should definitely bring back that Prince Devitt edge. He desperately needs something fresh. Daniel Price says, Buddy Murphy said he saw Rowan. He didn't say squat about Harper. Brian will play it off. Then fess up he was in on it. They can sell it. As he had to sit on the shelf for 3 years, cleared by all doctors except for WWE, all for the sake of having to watch Reigns take a spot. That'd be fun. And Tim Travers says, I just want to see my boy Buddy Murphy on TV in a match. Dang it. Me too. Let's talk about other stuff than WWE. Let's like AEW. I don't know if you guys heard this week, but it was officially announced that the two contenders for the very first to crown the first AEW World Women's Champion at their first show in Washington is going to be decided at the buy-in event at All Out in a couple of weeks. We're going to get the Casino Battle Royal, the buy-in during the buy-in, and already we have 3 new women who haven't been associated with AEW before. We have Jazz, yes, that Jazz, former WWE wrestler, current NWA Women's Champion. She is going to be in there. Ivelisse will be making her debut. Would appear that all the contract issues with Lucha Underground have been settled. And Teal Piper, who is Rowdy Piper's daughter. Her real name being, well, of course, it's Toombs, right? And she was, I think it's Allison, her real name, Allison Toombs. And she's 35 years old. She's starting, I don't know who she's been training with. I've tried to look up some information. I don't know if you in chat have any details, but feel free to pass them along. But she's basically been trying her hand at acting, is what she's been doing. She's been in a couple of movies, including one called Psycho Sleepover from 2008. I'm sure all this legendary classic film, this gem of the silver screen. Let me run you through the synopsis here. After accidentally murdering her boyfriend, Debbie Dickey moves into a new town and meets 3 girls who invite her to a sleepover. The very same night, there is a breakout at the local insane asylum where 40 serial killers escape, and head over to crash the party. However, the girls at the slumber party may not be as helpless as the killers think. I just want to point out to Chris and Ashley in the chat that this is probably going to be an upcoming movie night. This sounds fantastic, but regardless, no, it's Ariel Teal Toombs. Ariel Toombs is her name. Apologies. And no, she did not play Debbie Dickey. Ariel played Sally, but no, she's going to be in the AEW Oh, I'm sorry. Chat's making me laugh. We're going. This is going to be added to the AEW card. I think it's going to be cool to get the contenders sorted out there. It's probably going to be Brandy and Britt, if you're asking me at this stage. And if we run down the all-out card as it stands right now, we have the AEW World Championship. We're crowning the very first AEW World Champion Chris Jericho versus Hangman Adam Page. We're going to get Kenny Omega versus John Moxley. AAA tag team titles ladder match, Pentagon Jr. and Phoenix versus the Young Bucks. We're going to get Cody versus Shawn Spears. Best Friends versus the Dark Order. The winner receives the first round bye in the AEW Tag Team Championship Tournament, because you remember at Fight for the Fallen, there was a match to determine who will be in the match to get a bye. So now they're in the match to get a bye. So ultimately, even if you get the bye, you end up wrestling more than the people who are actually going to be in the tournament. We can start slowly talking about AEW logic here, folks. Slowly. And we also get Darby Allin versus Joey Janela versus Jimmy Havoc. It's shaping up to be a nice, handsome, good-looking card. Sports and Things, Carlos. Hi, Carlos. I don't think I took the time to say hello to you, Carlos. How you doing, Carlos? Says Crown Britt Baker. Daniel Price says Hangman's going over unless MJF has other ideas. Yeah. And CM Phil whispers, crown Kylie Ray, please. I'd love that. But pretty sure it's going to be something like Brandy versus Britt. That's what I'm expecting. The G1 Climax. Gals and guys, it's coming to an end. It's so weird. There's so much wrestling over the summer, and then we start reaching the end, and there's less and less stuff. And you know, it's one of the signs that summer's coming to a close when the G1 starts wrapping up. There's 3 nights left. Night 17, which is going to be on August 10. Night 18, that's going to be on August 11. And then the final, night 19, it's going to be on the 12th. And we are getting a better picture now of everything, of what the situation is. At least there's one of the 2 blocks right now that's a lot clearer. The picture is a lot clearer than the other, right? Currently, A block is a situation where there's only 2 guys who are left as contenders. Kazuchika Okada at 14 points and Kota Ibushi, who is at 12. Now, of course, they haven't wrestled yet. They're going to be the main event for the final night of A block. So they're going to be wrapping that one up. So it's really going to boil down to whoever wins the A block. So that's going to be something very, very interesting. By the way, Kazuchika Okada lost to Sonata. That's his only loss. And it's to Sonata, who didn't have who ended up with 8 points, but didn't have the G1 that I expected him to have, to be perfectly honest. So the current standings right now, like I said, Kazuchika Okada at 14, Kota Ibushi at 12, then all at 8 points, all eliminated. Evil, Hiroshi Tanahashi, Kenta, and Sonata. And at 6 points, we have Bad Luck Fale finishing off. Bad Luck Folly, Will Ospreay, Zack Sabre Jr., and Lance Archer with 4. And, Lance Archer, doesn't matter if he had 4 points. He had a fantastic G1. That was amazing. Then B block. B block, though. Oh, my. Now, keep in mind, like I said, there's only one night of action left for each block. So, as far as block A goes, it's pretty simple. You have 2 guys who are at the top, and they haven't fought each other yet. So whoever wins is going to win A block. It's simple, it's clean cut. It's either going to be Okada or Ibushi. But then, as we go over to block B, we have 4, count them, 4 guys who are tied at 10 points, who are at the top. 4 guys who on the last night will determine who goes forward and who's going to win B block. These 4 guys are Hiroki Goto, Jay White, Jon Moxley, and Tetsuya Naito. After that, rounding up, all eliminated, Tomohiro Ishii and Toru Yano at 8 points. Toru Yano, probably his best showing in the G1. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure. Then rounding off, we have Jeff Cobb, Juice Robinson, Shingo Takagi. It's not Tagaki, Warren. It's Takagi. 6 points, in Taichi. Block B is wild. This Block B for real, is absolutely, absolutely wild. This has been a crazy G1, and I don't care who you are. You were unable to pick this one properly. Right off on night 1, you have Yano beating Naito. You have Jon Moxley going over, and he had a hell of a run. No. None of this you could not have planned this. But I do, by the way, do take time out of your busy schedule to pull out your New Japan World membership and watch Shingo Takagi versus Tomohiro Ishii from today, August 8th. It has the WarrenHayes seal of approval. It is one of the 5 best matches of the tournament. That shit was wild. And if you ever wondered what a strong style match looked like, these guys left everything in the ring. Did I like it better than Moxley versus Ishii? It's hard to say. I'd have to watch them back to back, and then I'll let you know. So there's a lot of talk in the chat right now, like, hey, who's gonna lose? Who's moving forward? So on and so forth. Well, I do want to take a time here to talk about I do want to take some time to talk about these last few contenders of B block, because I'm gonna tell you guys, I don't think Ibushi's going over. I think Okada is still going to win. I think Okada is going to move on to the finals. But as far as B block, I don't even dare predict. Well, I know I will dare predict, but there's some logic that has to be applied to it. Let's take a look at the last 4 contenders here who's left. You can see them right here up on the screen. Because you have to understand, because this is how the G1 works here, right? If anyone is tied, if anyone is tied for points, the tiebreaker is whoever won the match against that person. Right? Does that make sense? That's how it works. So you get 2 points for winning, you get 1 point for a draw, you get 0 points for losing. So if anyone ends up with an equal amount of points, whoever has the win during the tournament over that wrestler, over the other wrestler, gets to advance. They win. So in the case of Jon Moxley, these are all situations. I've taken the 4 final contenders, and I'm spelling out for you folks the conditions that they need to win. All right? Let's start with Jon Moxley here. Jon Moxley, in his case, he has to beat Juice Robinson on his on the last night. That's the first thing he has to do. If he loses to Juice, he's done. Hiroki Goto and Jay White have to lose because they both have tiebreakers on him. So if they, Goto has a tiebreaker on him. And I think, anyway, they both have to lose. It doesn't matter if Naito wins or loses because Moxley has the tiebreaker on Naito. He defeated him. So if he beats Juice and Goto and White lose, he's fine. Naito wins. They're going. He and Naito will then have the same number of points, and so that means that Moxley goes forward because he has the tiebreaker on Naito. So that's the first one here. Hiroki Goto, he has to beat Shingo. Now Shingo has already positioned himself as a spoiler today because having defeated Tomohiro Ishii today, he effectively knocked Ishii out of the tournament. If Ishii had won, he would have had 10 points and would have been up there with all these guys. But Shingo is essentially a spoiler now. So he has another match against Goto, and he could spoil the tournament for Goto. So Goto, the first thing he has to do, he has to beat Shingo to get 2 points. Naito has to lose because Naito has the tiebreaker on Goto. However, Goto has tiebreakers on White and Jon Moxley. So if they're successful and he ends up having the same amount of points, he still wins. So to be perfectly honest here, Goto is the guy who mathematically is in the best position to win. Tetsuya Naito, he has to beat Jay White on his final match. Moxley has to lose, but he has the tiebreaker on Goto. So if Goto wins, he's okay. So that's interesting right there. And as for Jay White, well, he has to beat Naito to begin with. Goto has to lose, and he has the tiebreaker on Moxley. So that's how things are going for the last three nights. So again, the guy who has the best possible chance of winning is Hiroki Goto. But man, oh man, I am still sticking with my prediction that from the start, Naito is going to beat Jay White. He is going to defeat Jay White. That's all that's going to happen. And he's going to go to the finals of the G1. It's going to be against Kazuchika Okada, and he's going to beat Kazuchika Okada. And that's going to get us really, really hype for Wrestle Kingdom. I honestly don't see who your other big guy is. I honestly do not see who your other major star for your biggest event of the year on the new year against Kazuchika Okada. I've heard theories being floated out that Kazuchika Okada might win the G1. And, again, if the champion wins the G1, he gets to select his challenger. And I've heard rumors, or at least maybe it's just some fantasy, that Okada could come out and challenge Kenny Omega, and Omega can come back for one match. But I don't see how that would be beneficial for AEW. Not AEW, for New Japan, because it would be beneficial for AEW. For New Japan, I'm not quite sure. And Naito has been in a situation where he has to have some sort of redemption story, some sort of, pull myself back up kind of thing. It has to start this year. It has to happen. Blaine says, Okada versus Naito, we've seen it before, blah, blah. You know what? We've seen a lot of them before. We've seen Okada versus Tanahashi before. We've seen a whole bunch of these matches before. It's always a question of the stage. And here's the thing. Here's the difference. The main difference between New Japan booking and WWE booking is that since New Japan treats its booking like a sport, the matches become milestones. I think I talked about this last week. The matches become milestones. They don't become endpoints. They don't become chapters. They're events. They're events that you can call back to, that you do referencing to. On these high-profile matches, the guys get together and they do callbacks to previous matches because that's how they tell their stories. That's how it happens. So we've seen it before. We saw Omega versus Okada 4 times before Kenny finally beat him and Okada started dyeing his hair and came out with balloons. You know? Of course, we've seen it before. But the idea is, how far in are we in this progression, in this story? I have a lot of faith here. Daniel Price says, if Okada chooses his challenger, it's going to be Kenta. Nah. Nah. Benoit says, Moxley must have a match with Suzuki. I would be happy if this happened. I would be too. Robert Larry would be too. Daniel Price would be happy too. That'd be fantastic. So that's it. I mean, next week when we're going to be talking about the G1, it'll be in the context that it's over and done with. That'd be a shame. Bit of news that popped up over the past couple of days. NWA owner Billy Corgan, a gentleman who smashes pumpkins on occasion, said that starting on September 30th on September 30th and October 1st in Atlanta, Georgia, NWA were going to tape some television. Huh. Bet you didn't see that coming. And no, he didn't announce that there was a network deal. He didn't say exactly what they were going to do with it, but he did say that they were setting up in a venue, and for 2 nights that we're going to be taping some television for the NWA. He announced it in a brief video about less than about 90 seconds or so, 2 minutes, where he thanked his collaboration with ROH and started talking about, the days when he was growing up watching NWA. Talking about studio wrestling, this is what he says actually. The thing that sticks out in my mind about studio wrestling, particularly in the 70s and 80s, was that anything could really happen. You had people getting up very early in the morning, Saturday morning, kids television, and it had a real feeling of chaos and anarchy. And I think that really sold to me as a fan that there was an element of danger and there was an element that anything could happen. And I really want to bring that back to professional wrestling. And he talked about it being, he was talking, at some point it felt like he was even talking to talent. It's like, if you're talented and you want to be a part of this, there isn't a better home than the NWA. And we're going to be unscripted, uncensored, in your face in a way that's never been done before. So I'm intrigued. I am really intrigued at this. Now, this is what I'm thinking. At this point, let's just have a little fun, and I'm spitballing and I'm running things in my head, especially basing myself off of what Billy said here. He says that he talks about studio wrestling, and at some point, he even makes a point of it. He says, we're going to talk about production value. It's a little bit boring, but wrestling fans today, they're used to big promotions, big productions. They're used to this now, and then he sort of brings it back to the grittiness of, the NWA, where everything was, didn't feel as glossy, where you had, the environment in the studio. If there's one thing that the NWA could do right, if they really want to differentiate themselves from WWE and AEW is pulling no punches on the production value. They're doing a fantastic job. Their sets look great. Lighting. It would be to bring it more small scale, make it feel more intimate, make it feel like, I think at some point, he even says, where you feel this proximity with the wrestlers, that you could actually walk out into the street and meet them, And that would be very interesting if he could successfully get that across on television. I know that's basically the essence of indie wrestling. When you're at an indie wrestling show, you're like maybe 5 feet away from the edge of the ring. Guys are doing topes and pescados onto you in the front row. Bar wrestling, the fans are actually right up next to the apron. They can actually touch the apron. So, there's if this is an aesthetic that he wants to develop to help differentiate the NWA, that could be really interesting. But of course, I'm just speculating at this point because, there's not a clear roster as to who is in the NWA. We know Nick Aldis is in there. He's the champ. Recently, I think it was Dave Lagana who said in an interview that the NWA still recognizes Jazz as their women's champion. So, there's still that. But I mean, I think there's a whole bunch of stuff left to announce. And I'm going to tell you guys, I am very, very excited, very, very excited at the idea of another promotion getting in there and putting up some elbow grease and giving us some more wrestling. I think the fall is wild. SmackDown is going to Fox. AEW is premiering, and now the NWA is producing television. I'm not saying that this is going to be the end all. This is going to save wrestling. That's not the point. The point is that the point how exciting is it right now to be fans of wrestling and wrestlers, be involved in the business? There just seems to be more and more and more opportunities being created, developed, and opened over and over and over again. Daniel Price in the chat points out Eli Drake is in there. And that's right. That's right. I think this is amazing. It's such a good time. It is I've been watching wrestling for the better part of 4 years. Aside from that strip in time where WCW was kicking it to Raw and we had ECW underneath, I don't remember a more exciting time. I don't even think it was this exciting, because today with the internet and streaming services, we have access to all sorts of wrestling promotions who have their own streaming services that we don't even need a TV to watch. We can watch wrestling promotions on Twitch TV. It's fantastic. There has never been a more stimulating and amazing time to be a wrestler, to be a wrestling fan. And it blows my mind that people are already right now, because I tweeted that out today and I said it just blows my mind that we're not talking about the NWA more right now. To me, it doesn't make sense to me. But then people are like, well, they don't have, where's their TV deal? They don't have a roster. It's going to fail. Why he just announced that they were taping television. There's definitely going to be more to come, but as it stands right now, why can't you be excited as a fan? Why do you immediately have to shit on it, tear it down? It doesn't make sense. Why would you not want them to succeed? I want them to succeed. I want every wrestling promotion to do good, because if there's more wrestling offer, if there are more wrestlers out there, we as fans are going to benefit. And there will be new fans that will be catered to. This will bring in new fans unquestionably. You create easier access to different styles of wrestling, different types of promotions, different visions of wrestling. You will reach out to other people. That's inevitable. Well, they don't even have a TV deal. The elite created AEW off the back of a YouTube show that they were shooting as a joke to begin with while they were bored in New Japan. And off of that show, they got a multi-million-dollar deal with the or financing from the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and they are about to go national on TV with their wrestling promotion. That was all built off of a YouTube show. Don't come around here shitting on the NWA. It's not the same in the NWA. It is the same NWA. It's the same belt. It has the same lineage. It's amazing how some people are just unable, just completely unable to just feel joy, just be happy, or open themselves up to a possible avenue where there might be just something else. So, they suddenly have to become some kind of intense analyst. Well, if you consider the market share currently occupied by... Fuck you. Let the market decide what's going to happen. That's what a free market system is. Create the offer. Then the demand will the demand will respond, and then it will be a question of survival of the fittest. Competition. There hasn't been competition in wrestling for 16 years or so, give or take. There hasn't been competition in 16 years. People have been clamoring for it. WWE's gotten complacent because they're not fighting against anyone. Then now there are wrestling promotions coming up. And then AEW starts to form, they're just a t-shirt company. Jesus! NWA announces television. Well, they're never going to make it. They didn't even announce where their show's going to be aired. Christ! People bug me sometimes, man. All right, I don't want to take too much up of your time, folks. Quick predictions for our 2 WWE pay-per-views this weekend. Two pay-per-views. It's a SummerSlam weekend that obviously is going to start off on Saturday with TakeOver Toronto 2. The second time, this is the first TakeOver card since 2016 where there have been 2 women's matches on the card. We have Candice LeRae versus Io Shirai. Io Shirai is definitely going over. They need to build a very, very strong heel. Another extremely strong heel in the women's division. They can't just lay it all on Shayna. Shayna's eventually going to disappear from NXT. They need a strong Io. If Io doesn't win, she beats the shit out of Candice. Candice is not leaving, is not walking out of there by her own volition, I can tell you that much. NXT Women's Championship, Shayna Baszler is going to defend against Mia Yim. This should be fun, but I think Shayna retains. I don't think Mia's the one. Then we can have the question, who is the one? Who is going to defeat Shayna Baszler? If the rumors are true and NXT is going to go head-to-head with AEW on Wednesday nights, they're probably going to want to hang on to some of their stronger assets, such as Shayna, such as Adam Cole, such as the Undisputed Era, Dream. They are probably going to want to hang on to their bigger stars if they want to have a star-studded show that will compete with AEW. Or at least try to keep some viewers away. I don't think it's a question of that. I don't think it's a question where WWE is like, NXT is so great, it's going to blow AEW out of the water. They just want to keep some eyeballs away from the product. Because if you're not watching NXT, or if AEW runs unopposed, it's like, I'll check this AEW stuff out, And let me know, guys, by the way, what your predictions are. Let's keep this ball rolling for the triple threat match here. NXT North American Championship, Velveteen Dream is the champ, defending against Pete Dunne and Roderick Strong. This, my prediction here, this is going to be the match of the weekend. You have 3 fantastic workers here. Absolutely fantastic. Roderick Strong, wholly underappreciated in the discussions when we start talking about who are some great workers in wrestling today. Roderick Strong is a beast. Dream is fantastic. Dunn is a machine. I think that Velveteen Dream is going to lose the title to Roderick Strong. We have Strong pinning Dunn here. We have Dream retaining. Roderick Strong as our new American champion. That's what Chad is saying. Next, we have the NXT Tag Team Championship, which is going to be on the line as well. Street Profits against the Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish. Or should I say, O'Reilly Auto Parts and Lawrence Fishburne Jr. II. I think Undisputed Era win. I think the fact that Street Profits have been showing up on Raw is telegraphing the conclusion to this match. Quite unfortunately, I don't think there's going to be much. I don't think there's going to be much of a story here. And our main event, 2 out of 3 falls match for the NXT Championship. Champion Adam Cole versus Johnny Gargano. We know there are three falls here. There are 3 falls. 2 of them have been already established. Adam Cole decided for it to be a wrestling match. Johnny Gargano is street fight, and William Regal, in the case of a tie, will come out and announce the final stipulation. Are you ready for my big prediction, guys? Are you ready for it? Are you good? Are you good for this? Are you ready? Here's what I think. I think Adam Cole is going to retain. It is going to be a tie, and William Regal is going to come out with his third and final stipulation, and the third and final stipulation is going to be loser leaves town. And I think Johnny Gargano is gone from NXT. Yeah, baby. So that's what I think is going to happen. I think the end of the evening comes with Undisputed Era draped in gold. I half expect Tommaso Ciampa to show up. And that would lead us into something fantastic, but that is really what I think is going to happen. And by the way, I'm still doing that. I'm still doing a watch along on Saturday. So if you guys want to come and join me right here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes for the watch along, that would be fantastic. And as far as SummerSlam goes, where did my SummerSlam notes go? Give me a second here, folks. As far as SummerSlam goes, it's a doozy, isn't it? It's gonna be a big card. It's gonna take a while to get through it, but it is one of the bigger pay-per-views of the year, so it's to be expected. All right, I have the matches pulled up here. Here we go. Drew Gulak versus Oney Lorcan for the Cruiserweight Championship. This is gonna rule, but Drew Gulak is gonna retain. Trish Stratus versus Charlotte Flair. I think I mentioned it a little earlier. Charlotte is winning. Charlotte is, especially if they're booking this as Trish's final match. Charlotte is definitely going over. Goldberg is going to defeat Dolph Ziggler. AJ Styles is going to retain over Ricochet thanks to the OC. We got to keep those OC boys strong. Bray Wyatt as the Fiend is going to defeat Finn Balor as well. There's no way Bray Wyatt can lose this match, and it's probably going to be a quick match, and Finn Balor is going to take some time off. Kevin Owens, I think, is going to beat Shane McMahon finally, but Shane McMahon hasn't lost on a single pay-per-view since the beginning of the year. Keep that in your pipe. But I think Kevin Owens should win. Kofi Kingston will retain his title against Randy Orton. Bayley will also retain against Ember Moon. Becky Lynch will retain against Natalya, and Toronto is going to boo the shit out of Natalya and Bayley. And in the main event, Brock Lesnar is going to retain his title against Seth Rollins. That's right. I'm calling a pay-per-view where there is not a single title change that is going to happen on it. I fully expect Sasha Banks to pop up at some point. I really, really, really see that happening. There we have it, ladies and gentlemen. That will wrap up our edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show for this week. I'll say it again. Come and join me Saturday. Just a little bit before just a little bit before the start of Takeover. Just before the start of Takeover, we'll have a watch along. Let's watch it together. It'll be a good time. Hang out in the chat. We'll react. We'll go like this. We'll go, and we'll go like this, and then we'll go like this. I have all of my reaction faces ready. Thank you very much. Again, if you haven't done it already, please think about liking the video, giving it a thumbs up, giving a review on your podcast application. And also, if you also feel like it, you can give your boy Warren a tip over at tinyurl.com/tipwarren, or buy the t-shirt at whatforapparel.com/I'm not dead. And that would make me very, very happy. But you know what makes me very happy? You guys showing up every Thursday to come listen to me yammer on about wrestling. I appreciate it a great deal. Thank you all so very much, and I will see you next time.